Hi, I'm Brian Lange with FutureCommerce, where for the past decade, we covered how business will happen in the future. Lately, it's become clearer and clearer to me how supply chain technology is totally essential for companies to handle the volatility of the world around us. From exogenous shocks and geopolitics, to tariffs and rising costs, to all this noise about agents and AI, supply chains are more central than ever to businesses owning their future. Few companies have actually risen to the challenge of making supply chains a strategic asset, like my friends at Shipium. And today marks an inflection point for the next era. I'm here with CMO of Shipium, Kris Gösser, to share what's next for the company. Hey, Kris.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I mean, our original vision when we launched Shipium was to really democratize a lot of the technology found at the world's best supply chains, of which Amazon is where most of our roots come from. And so it was taking a lot of inspiration from that. Over the years, we built, I think, the world's best orchestration platform for shipping, and it's definitely worked. We have some of the world's largest companies, some Fortune 10s, hundreds and hundreds of millions of shipments flowing through the system. Recently, we won the Gartner Cool Vendor Award, which, although it's kind of an uncool name, is certainly a marker in terms of its rarity and of what solution or technology might make an impact on a lot of these physical industries like the supply chain space. And so really it's now, I think, this next era that is going to be more about intelligence instead of orchestration, and we're excited to start to lead that charge.
Yeah, when you say intelligence, you mean AI, right?
Sure, certainly. So when we launched Shipping AI at the end of last year, it was really more of a category or a vehicle for the community to help discuss what we think shipping how it's going to be impacted by AI. So we wanted to open the book to help everybody write the story between the impact on costs and customer experience and everything else, because we're not sure what the destination is going to be. And I think it's worked. We've had a lot about operators and analysts and customers, partners, and so on. A lot of people start to give their points of view that I think has been healthy. Eventually then, earlier this year, we launched our interpretation of what we think Shipping AI is going to be, which we're calling Orca. And it's really our vertical supply chain engine for AI. It's built by some of the world's best data scientists in the shipping space. It's trained in our data within the platform, and it's really more of kind of a generative AI focus. And we launched the first product, Orca Analytics, with a lot more coming out in the future.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So is this part of that shift to the new era? Like, what's different between what you were before and what you are now?
Yeah, I mean, AI has been around for a while, right? In the sense that OpenAI launched ChatGPT in 2022. So it's not necessarily that these are new concepts, but the technology has now hit a point where it's actually practical to be used in industries like the supply chain industry. So, I mean, even for us, we were pretty skeptical in early 2025 still of this making a real impact, but it's changed so fast quarter over quarter that by summer last year, we started to see real genuine evidence. We're like, this is real and it's going to happen. So we completely switched our point of view on this. We completely rebuilt the company in summer of 2025 to be AI first from the ground up, and it's definitely been working. And so now it's about how do we actually position the company and help customers with this new frontier of AI and data. And like what does that look like?
That makes sense. So hence the brand change, the rebrand.
Yeah, our thought then, right? So when we think about brands, right, and how I think about it is that brands they fit this prototypical life cycle of life, right? So you go from birth through adolescence, and you grow, and then eventually you become like parents that you got to get taken care of, right? So as a result, we have thought that every customer conversation, every project, every year, these are opportunities to grow the brand, to explore, to figure out like who are we and what is the difference that we're going to make in shipping and the supply chain industry. By the time that the AI narrative like really hit end of 25 and we started to lean in and commit to this, it was very clear that our focus now, we were almost coming out of college and we're in our 20s. We knew our place in the world. We knew what we're going to do. We'll just help lead this charge for AI in the supply chain.
That makes sense. Yeah, I like that analogy of the 20s. It seems like that's when you really start to, build on your foundation, and like it's like there's so much work left to do, I think.
Yeah.
And I love the logo. It feels like it fits really well with the brand. Explain a little bit about the sort of thinking behind it. It's more than just a logo.
Yeah.
It's a whole brand system, really.
I mean, it sounds silly to talk about it, but it's helpful to use as an understanding to understand Shipium and what we care about and like why we're here. And it really is like when we started to go through this process of like, okay, what do we want to be now going forward? The observation came to us that in the shipping industry, it really is this constant scenario of something on top of something else going from left to right. So whether it's data flowing through multiple systems, or whether it's a decision flowing through multiple workflows, or whether it's a truck on a road, or whether it's a box on a conveyor belt, it's this constant idea of stuff just flowing and shifting from one end to the other. And if you're going to now move from the prior world, the prior era, to some sort of a new intelligence-based era, it's really about elevating how all of these things flow from left to right. And that just really stood out to us. And so we wanted to lean into that and really tell a story with that.
I think it's really smart. Yeah, it reminds me of like sort of like, well, the modern era that we're in now in commerce, and, this focus on brand and focus on like what modern commerce looks like, and with all of the new tools that we have. And it seems like there's such an opportunity for brands to focus on with the largest expense in their P&L, the shipping and logistics. And what I love about Shipium and what you're doing is that I feel like you're giving them opportunity to apply all this modern technology to honestly one of their biggest problems and save the money. And it's not just about saving money, it's actually about building a better brand promise. Like doing the very thing that a lot of marketers want to accomplish, which is set good expectations with customers. It's about telling people what you're going to do and then doing it. And that's building trust. And I think building trust is one of the most important things you can do right now in this AI era.
Yeah, and I think the way that we get from here to there as an industry and how Shipium helps that is we think about it through the lens of almost explaining how supply chains basically have two jobs. You either are really, 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 really good at predicting, or you're really, really, really good at reacting to the changes of reality around you. You have to do one or the other. Initially, I think point number one is what the industry has focused on in like the 2010s. That's why you saw a lot of ML and data scientists and things like that happen to try to predict what the world is going to be. But I think the supply chain hasn't really been able to benefit from all those innovations because of the fact that the majority of the actual execution systems or orchestration systems being used are still that like 1990s on-premise Windows VM and server kind of like product model, right? So it's so hard to react and actually adapt and implement whatever sort of changes that the predictions are telling you to be doing. So for us, the way that we help a company make a promise they can keep, but then keep the promise that they made, is by blending this intelligence with orchestration so that you can be flexible. You can make a change that propagates across your entire network in a matter of minutes and things like that. And that merging and the interplay between those two, we feel, is how these companies across retail, but now pharma, life sciences, automotive, B2B manufacturing, no matter what it is, whoever your customer is, you can now kind of move forward in this next era. Essentially,
yeah. In fact, as you're talking, I was just thinking about the episode of FutureCommerce podcast that we just did with your CEO and founder, Jason Murray, who got into this idea of infinite simulations, which is just such a wild idea, being able to sort of predict everything out. Relate that back to sort of this intelligence world being adaptable and how that sort of fits together.
Yeah, I think it's actually like a fantastic story point and one of my favorite concepts, which is that supply chains are just inherently probabilistic, right? So you just never know, you can never be guaranteed the outcomes in the real world on any one decision you make. Right. So simply put, if there's like 100 shipments as an example, and one of them falls off the truck, only 99 of them are going to get there on time, right? So now extrapolate that to the entirety of a supply chain for a given business or industry or concept or whatever. And every one of these decisions are hard to guess, hard to assure what's going to happen, which is why supply chains feel so uncontrollable and so volatile, right? So the switch the industry has to make is from deterministic technology from the 90s to more stochastic or probabilistic decision making. Okay, if that's true, right? If we agree that to be true, then the way in which these decisions get as close as possible to 100% is start to model and understand the reality of the world around that decision. So that's why you have models, that's why you have objective functions, constraints, configuration, all of these things, right? So a simulation is a really great way to just test these different things to like see what gets as close as possible to 100%. Where this gets really crazy and sounds like futuristic, but we believe is the actual path to an agentic future of the supply chain, not just shipping, is that every one of these decisions now, you can imagine an AI agent coordinating itself across these decisions where what it's relying on to make the decision is essentially like an infinite number of simulations for that decision point, right? To just like, what should I probably do, right? And it's kind of funny to think about then that like the physical atoms of the supply chain space might actually be the first instance of what's been talked about forever as like a fully virtualized, simulated reality, right? And that kind of infiniteness is so interesting.
That is so interesting because you might find something, out in the data where it's like, oh, this happens every single time. And it might be a pothole or a speed bump or whatever it is, right? And it's very obviously fixable or go around it. Or it might be Melissa McCarthy like on an SNL skit.
And honestly, like we just think that the supply chain starting to move forward like that and really bring these companies into that future era is really how businesses are going to be able to handle the future.
Totally. I love that. In fact, that is a great place to end it. We started with the future of commerce, and the future of commerce is where we'll leave it, and Shipium is leading the charge into that future.